Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's English learning session. 我们今天呢，要做2件事情。第一件事情呢，先是把昨天的前2篇文章遇到的生词和词组呢，回顾一下，对，加深一下记忆。然后接下来呢，我们会继续读完昨天的那篇文章，还有下半部分。那我们话不多说，赶紧抓紧时间开始啦。第一个词是 protract for protracted, war, prolong, extend 延续的 OK disarray lack of order, lack of sequence 朋友们可以先不看，然后听我讲，然后尝试回忆一下，哎，这个词我们之前看到了，然后我们记了，这个词到底什么意思，还可不可以记得到，然后我再解释，你们不要看我的这个屏幕啊。先把目光看向其他的地方。Disarray 就是 disorder, lack of order, sequence， 然后它经常会伴随的一个介词呢是 in disarray. The room is totally, absolutely in disarray， 完全不整洁，就是完全很乱。In disarray. Feat 什么意思？壮举。An action or deed especially notable for courage， 充满勇气的一个行为，壮举也可以用作壮举。An act or a product of skill, of endurance。比如说，某一个人做了一件什么事情 ，the action or is absolutely a feat. What he have done is a feat to everybody. 或者是 a performer, and writer who is known for his either skillful, 如果他是杂技 acrobatic feat, or for his capability of writing feat. Feat 主要是名词 prolific 形容词 prolific 可以联系到另外一个词 proliferate， 都是有 productive, fruitful 多产的这个意思。Prolific, a prolific writer, a prolific actress, a prolific composer 作曲家。Shrivel 我们当时是在说到这个 once prolific shipbuilding superpower, which was referred to the United States back in the World War II period, its capability of shipbuilding has been shriveled, 就是下降了 shrunk. Okay, shrivel, become reduced to inefficiency, helplessness. Next to nothing, 这是一个 idiom, next to nothing. Nothing 就是完全没有 next to nothing, very little. Okay, I've had next to nothing to eat. 我完全没有东西吃。We know next to nothing about him and his family. Okay, it costs me next to nothing. They did next to nothing to the homework. Fathom 它有2个意思，一个是名词，代表了一个 unit， 是一个单位，然后另外就动词 measure, probe, hard to fathom。我们当时那个文章的语境是什么什么事情 hard to fathom， 就是很难揣测，很难观测到，很难衡量。fathom dwarf 矮人名词，然后衍生的动词矮化，形容词矮的矮化。Beijing always dwarfs Taiwan, right? Doffed, Taiwan, or someone doffed by somebody. Crank out, crank out, crank out 和 generate, carry out 是一样的意思。Crank out，但它呢更多的是 mechanical manner。Crank out 制造业，比如说要推出什么事情了。This super great hull, which is ship or destroyers, aircraft carrier, has been crank out, being produced. Crank out, sprawl, 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 sprawl. 你看这个词，就是你也感觉它很绕嘛，对吧 ？Sprawl 就是发展的，你可以联想到它这个感觉，发展 sprawl。I sprawled my leg and arms， 就是 spread out, very relaxed. You know, sprawled 就是扩展的，那么就是另外一个衍生的，那还有一个衍生的一个，你可以联想到记忆这个词就是 sprawl with sprawl， 它因为太过于舒展，可能就是 lack of regulatory, irregularly, lack of restraint， 就是没有受限制的去 sprawl 舒展了。A sprawling narrative, a sprawling suburbs. The city has been sprawling over the past decade. Right? Okay. Backlog, backlog. 大家想一想什么意思 ？Backlog. Accumulated and accumulated tasks that has been unperformed. 就是没有执行的累积下来的任务。Backlog. I have plenty of I have plenty of backlogs of, you know, homework to be done, right? We have a huge backlog of orders. We have a huge backlog of orders to be filled. Paucity, paucity 当时我说的时候还跟它对比了 scarcity. Scarcity 是缺乏的，缺稀少的。Paucity 就是 smallest， 比它那个程度没有那么深 smallest in number and quantity. Paucity. Upper hand. We finally gained upper hand in this race. 我终于跑到了前面，就是占了优势了。Upper hand, upper 更上的 hand 更先的优势，可以这样联想记忆。Upper hand, advantage. Bog down, 这个很好理解。Bog down 就是 being stuck, especially in the wet water, wet ground. Get stuck 在沼泽里面 bogged down 了。Often used figuratively 就是形象的，比如说 I've been bogged down by this, you know, lots of details, lots of details that I need to take care of, lots of regulatories, you know, I need to go through. Bogged down. A handful of 手可以数得过来的 a small number of them. 然后 in light of considering 经常可以说在句子的开头 in light of, in view of this point, in view of this aspect, in light of this, you know, this side of the thing, in considering of, in consideration of, in relation to. Okay. Munition, ammunition, 它们是可以 interchangeable. Supply military weapons, not list, especially, particularly. We have many things to consider, not list these, you know, our safety of our children, the security of the national, not list the national security. Subsidiary, of second importance, subsidiary stream, subsidiary. Upshot. Okay, here is the upshot. Here is the conclusion. Here is the outcome. Here is the final result. You win the race. We've improved. Here is the upshot. Okay. Field 之所以会记下这个 field 呢，不是它的名词用法，名词用法是我们比较常见，它有动词用法。Field， 比如说 field an army， 派出一个队伍 ，field an army to put into the field to enter in competition. Field a team。在这个语境当中，特别是 China's Navy fields 370 battle force ships. Fields how much, how many battle force ships。OK， 这就是它的动词用法。好，明天我们还会再 go through this a bit。那么在昨天的一篇新的文章呢，我们有这样几个新词啊 ，blistering，blistering，blistering，大家回忆一下什么用法，什么意思 ？blistering，extremely intense or severe，blistering, extremely intense or severe, or very rapid speed. A blistering pace, a blistering pace. Bang for the buck, bang for the buck, bang for the buck. Bang for someone's buck. 就是 value, bang for the buck, 就是 value for something. Value, 我们当时那个语境是说 Biden 在 complain 这个 with the inflation and price and the rising prices, like restaurants and food makers gave less bang for the buck for the consumer's buck, right? 就是在这个成本上涨和通胀的环境之下呢，食品制造商和餐馆他们给消费者更少的 value 了，a decreasing value 了。就他特别举到的一个例子就是a downsize of the ice cream container， 然后是 fewer chips in each bag， 就是价格一样，但是实际上给的量变少了。Bang for the buck, less bang for the buck, or more bang for the buck for consumers' buck. From scratch, from the get-go, from the beginning, build a school system from scratch, from a point at which nothing has been done ahead of time. Okay, from scratch, from the beginning, from the start point, from the get-go. Defray, pay, defray the fee. 还有两个是我在其他地方看到的，也把它记下来。Brain drains, brain gangs, brain drains, brain gangs。这个我们在中文的语境当中经常用到 brain drains, brain gangs， 人才的流失 brain drain 走了 brain gangs。Our work identifies brain drains and brain gangs in each technology area。我们的工作呢，在每一个这个技术科技领域呢，去确定人才的这个流失情况，来源就这个流动情况。Leeway, leeway, 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 sorry, leeway, leeway. An allowable margin of freedom or variation, leeway, leeway, leeway. 就是在可以活动的这个可以自己做主的一个区间 a leeway。 比如说the boss gave the manager a bit of more leeway to make decisions on this project。 这个老板给了这个 manager 更多的空间，在这个项目上他可以做决定。 The new rules allow managers greater leeway in making decisions. They give their students leeway to try new things. 老师给了学生更多的空间去尝试更多的事情。 Head in the sand, 头埋在沙子里，就是 ignore, unwilling to recognize or acknowledge to a problem or situation， 就是装作看不见。Head in the sand， 对吧？把头埋进沙子里，这个很好理解。Plunge into， 我们都知道跳就是跳水。Plunge into something 就有很多意思，比如说plunge into something， 比如说 I can't wait to plunge into this project， 我等不了了，我要赶紧 suddenly begin to be something, right? Start doing something with enthusiasm and energy， 就是这个意思。我刚刚说 I can't wait to plunge into this project， 就是我要迫不及待开始做了，往往是充满了热情和能量的。它有其他的意思 push something into something quickly and forcefully, plunge into。 它那个就是你可以想象这个动作的话呢，很多衍生的意思你都可以联系到了。To suddenly begin to suddenly begin to be in a position, particularly bad condition. To call someone or something to suddenly be in a particular condition。 我们来看一下这个例子，我觉得当时我接下来觉得这个例子还比较有意思，而且这个句子非常长。 The public must tap the military's experience to build our understanding of Chinese sharp power, especially as it seems grimly inevitable that Beijing's recklessness will lead to a deadly incident sooner or later, plunging us into a crisis for which the nation is solely unprepared. 这话很长，这个意思呢，就是 the public must have the military's experience to build our understanding，就是公众必须要建立起对中共的这个非常强sharp power，怎么讲呢？它的这个往往是负面的啊，就是它的权力力量的这个认知，特别是它这个权力这个力量很有可能会毫无章法的，而且无法避免的，会造成一个 deadly incident， 一个非常严重的一个后果。Sooner or later， 就是不远，终将会 plunging us into， 把我们推向一个 crisis 危机当中 ，for which the nation is totally unprepared。这个 crisis 这个危机是这个国家完全没有准备好的。Okay, the public must tap the military's experience to build our understanding of Chinese sharp power, especially as it seems grimly inevitable that Beijing's recklessness will lead to a deadly incident sooner or later, plunging us into a crisis for which the nation is sorely unprepared. Okay, plunge into 这个其实非常常用。好啦，那我们回顾了这些新词，那么我们现在呢，就来看看昨天没有完成的任务，就是我们这篇文章。It's been 30 years since food ate up this much of your income. 我们还是把昨天 go through 过的呢，快速读一下，然后再来我们还没看完的内容。Okay, the last time Americans spent this much of their money on food, George H.W. Bush was in office. Terminator 2: Judgment Day was in theaters, and C+C Music Factory was rocking the Billboard charts. Eating continues to cost more, even as overall inflation has eased from the blistering pace consumers endured throughout much of 2022 and 2023. Prices at restaurants and other eateries 我们查了这个词是读 eateries eat 的衍生词 eateries 就是小的餐馆小的那种咖啡啊之类的 other eateries were up 5.1% last month compared with January 2023, while grocery costs increased 1.2% during the same period, Labor Department data show. Relief isn't likely to arrive soon. Restaurants and food company executives said they're still grappling with rising labor costs and some ingredients, such as cocoa, that are only getting more expensive. Consumers, they said, will find ways to cope. If you look historically after periods of inflation, there is really no period you could point to where food prices go back down, said these people, chief executive of snack giant, this company in an interview. They tend to be sticky. In 1991, US consumers spent 11.4% of their disposable personal income on food, according to data from the US Agriculture Department. At the time, households were still dealing with steep price increases following an inflationary period during the 1970s. More than 3 decades later, food spending has reattained that level. USDA data shows in 2022, consumers spent 11.3% of their disposable income on food, according to the most recent data available. Many diners have said they are going out less frequently or skipping appetizers, while buying cheaper store brands more frequently at supermarkets and seeking out promotions or deals offered via apps. That is starting to chip away at some sales for food makers and restaurant operators. Chip away, gradually decrease, to cut gradually to chip away. Food companies said they are feeling pinched themselves, while commodities such as corn, wheat, coffee beans, and chicken have gotten cheaper. Prices for sugar, beef, and French fries are still high or rising. Companies across the United States economy have also raised prices beyond covering their own higher expenses, lifting profits for industries including retail, biotech, and manufacturing. Food inflation has raised the 我不记得这个词，我知道这是fury 生气的意思，但是我忘记它怎么读了。让我们来查一下它。ire，我们记得怎么读啊？我就是刚刚 confused，就是 I 前面这个 I 我是读 I 呢，还是读 ear 呢？ ear 呢？ e 呢？就记得它是它的原来那个 letter 的读音 ire， 这样就很好记了。ire 名词 intense or usually openly displayed anger, fury, anger. Okay, the ire. Food inflation has raised the ire of President Biden, who took to Instagram during the Super Bowl to blast food makers that he said were providing less bang for consumers' buck. 我们刚刚看了 less bang for consumers' buck, putting fewer chips in each bag or shrinking the size of ice cream containers. The American public is tired of being played for suckers. Is tired of being played for suckers. Biden said, "I've had enough of what they call shrinkflation. Shrinkflation 就是我们昨天后面查的 shrinkflation， 就是价格没有变，但是其实上那个里面给的货变少了。Shrinkflation is a rip-off。这是一个劫掠，就是 being ripped off， 被抢劫了，比如说游客经常容易被宰，就是被割，那就叫 rip off。OK, it's a rip off. David 这个人 CEO of the Consumer Brands Association, which represents major food manufacturers, said the industry offers many choices at different price points. Can say just different prices, different price points. We hope to work with the president on real solutions that benefit consumers, he said. In suburban Chicago, in suburban, I'm not sure American English, it sounds like pronounced like that. 但是我会这样读 suburban Chicago. Lisa said her food bills are rising faster than her family's income. 就是我这个嘴还是不够快 than her family's income 不够熟悉 leading them to make their own granola from scratch and pack their own snacks for the movies. Everything is a negotiation analysis about our budget, said Winster, an occupational therapist. It's exhausting. Denny's 前面我们看完了，那这个地方我们昨天应该是在这里就没有看了，看来不及时间了。那我们今天来看 Denny's, Wendy's, and other restaurant chains told investors this month that their guest counts fell last year compared with 2022 levels as consumers, in particular those with lower incomes, feel the financial pinch. Big food makers, including, have reported that their sales volumes declined as prices rose for their products, with several reporting a hit to profits in the last fiscal year, and others an increase. Okay, 就是 Denny's and Wendy's and other restaurant chains， 就是这几个餐馆的服务链条供应链 told investors 告诉投资人这个月他们的客流量，去年的这个月他们的客流量减少了，和2022年的那个相比啊，就是2023年这个月份，就是2月份他们的客流量和22年同比 相较是变少了。In particular, those with lower incomes， 特别是那些低收入者，感受到财务痛感的那些人，那些低收入者。Big food makers 这些公司大的食物制造商报告了他们的这个销售额其实上是下降了，因为这个成本嘛，他们的商品的不是成本，他们商品的价格提高了，但是呢，仍然是有其他的个别的报告说，哎，他们的这个利润达到了一个历史高度，在去年的这一年财政年当中。你看他这句话，他其实上讲了所有的不同的食品制造商他们的这个 sales volume， 在去年财政年度他们的销售额度，它包括了个别的，比如说一些大的。Oh no, excuse me, I got a call. Just give me a second, please. I need to hide myself first. Oh, okay. We're all good now. Okay. 那我们继续，就是大的食物制造商，他就报告说他的这个销售额变小了，因为他们的 prices rose, right？ 他们价格上涨了。然后呢 ，with several reporting a hit to profits， 其中有另外一些报告了他们的这个 profits 达到一个历史高度，然后 others an increase。所以它就里面有增长，有一个特别的高度，然后还有下降，这三类它其实都包括在这一句话里面。你看它怎么连接起来的啊？非常短。Big food makers, including these two companies, have reported that their sales volumes declined. 然后为什么呢？它其实上最后面这一段呢，最后面这一句是它的补充是定语，我们可以 skip for now. Their sales volumes declined, with several reporting a hit to profits. 然后 and others an increase。对，三类，它一个是用了 with several reporting a hit to profits， 然后最后它用了一个这个符号 and others an increase， 表示强调，这个符号可以用来表示强调，就是一个转折吧。Oreo maker said in January it would continue rising prices on some of its products this year, largely because of cocoa prices, which earlier in February, 2月的更早的时候 surged past a 46-year record. Surged 上涨 surged past a 46-year record， 超过了46年的新高。Hershey said this month it expects more expensive cocoa to cut into the company's profit this year. 然后这个人 said inflation is moderating, but that its costs are still higher, driven in part by pricier tomatoes and sugar. Oh no， 我还是不行。我觉得我这个口音，因为我一直尝试在卷舌嘛，想让我的澳洲口音不那么重，但是我发现我有时候会 confuse 那个会读的不知道在读什么了。Sugar 应该这样读啊 ，sugar, right? Pricier tomatoes and sugar. Companies are set to pay more for stuffing after 22 states in January lifted the minimum wage for hourly workers, hiring skilled workers like mechanics to replace employees who retired during the pandemic is particularly expensive, said someone which owns 应该是 which， 因为他没有说 who， 所以应该是指的这个公司 which owns 17 food and beverage plants that make 这个 cake mixes and other products. Companies are set to pay more for stuffing. After 22 states in January lifted the minimum wage for hourly workers. 这个我们昨天其实过了。Restaurant chains said they are trying to operate more efficiently to help defray wage increases, but they also expect to raise prices. restaurant chains said they're trying to operate more efficiently to help defray wage increases. But they also expect to raise prices. 他们尽管想要通过更有效的去运作来就是付给这个员工涨薪的这部分补回去，但是呢，他们仍然预计会要就是抬高这个物价。It's a really fast move and a high percent increase, said in an interview referring to California's 25% minimum wage increase for fast food workers employed by large chains set to take effect in April. Pricing is going to be part of the puzzle. 这个我们昨天过了。Some restaurant and food companies, including these companies, are projecting higher earnings this year. Projecting 我们昨天说了 projecting 有预计的意思。Projecting higher earnings this year, signs of a consumer spending slowdown has led others to temper their outlooks. 让他们的这个观点远景预期就是下降了。With Starbucks,它这个 with 就是解释的意思了，和给出一些案例来补充说明这个 temper that looks 是什么样的情况。With Starbucks lowering its same-store sales projection for 2024 and frozen food makers reducing its per-share earnings forecast， 就他们降低了预期了，对于这个销售。Investors have cooled on food stocks。这里我们昨天没有看到 ，investors have cooled， 这个是动词 cooled， 是 cooling down， 用作冷却了、降温了。have cooled， cool， 这个也是比较有特点的用法 ，have cooled on food stocks。And 标准普尔500指数 subindex of restaurant stocks have and 标准500 subindex of restaurant stocks， 你看用的 has， 它实际上是指的是某一个 subindex has risen 10% in the past 12 months through Wednesday's close， 在 Wednesday 收盘的时候涨了10%， while the broader index gained about 25%， 但是整个大盘实际上是涨了25%，所以相对来说，这个 food restaurant stocks 其实上是涨的就不多了。然后还有一个标准普尔的指数 tracking packaged food and meat companies fell。另外一个跟踪packaged 食品包装、肉类包装送的这个行业的这个标准普尔500指数呢，标普500指数呢是 fell roughly 8% over that period， 下降了8%。When 这个人和 husband eat out these days, she said they ask themselves whether a side of macaroni and cheese is worth the extra $2 and often go for refills instead of ordering more expensive large-size drinks。就完全描述了他们现在物价上涨，他们吃饭的时候就是觉得这个 macaroni and cheese 是不是值得这个更多的2块钱呢？还有他们会去采用 refill 了，就是续杯 instead of ordering a new one。这个人 professor said they will sometimes split a $20 steak and side dish at Texas Roadhouse or a large sandwich from Jimmy John's。他们会 split 分享 a $20 steak 牛排。Nevertheless, she said, our daily and monthly expenditures still seem higher than even 2 years ago。尽管是这样子 ，Nevertheless, she said， 我们每天的和每月的这个花费呢，仍然是比2年之前要高。就他们尽管节省了，但是呢，花费还是要高。Food manufacturers and restaurants have been offering more deals on some items。食品制造商和餐馆呢，推出了更多的套餐，在一些具体的这个产品上面。 这两个公司 have reduced prices on coffee and margarine。这个是什么呀？不知道哎，说一下。Fruit product made usually from vegetable oils. Skim milk to smooth. Use like butter. Okay. Margarine. Okay, margarine. Reduced price on coffee and margarine, passing through lower costs for coffee beans and edible oils. Edible oils 这个很熟，但是呢，我们还要 make sure edible, eatable, fit to be eaten. Edible oils. Something that is suitable or safe to eat. Something edible. Okay, edible oils. 你记下来啊。Something fit to be eaten. 就是可以吃的，可以食用的。Eatable 可能就太口语了吧，或者是 edible 就更加 decent 一点。Sounds more, more professional. Not necessarily professional, but it's another way, like more beautiful way of saying it. I reckon edible, right? Edible. Something edible. OK， 它也可以用作名词，就是指的 something edible， 就是可食用的。Something edible, something that is suitable or safe to eat. 我们看它的句子，这个名词是怎么用的。Growing mushrooms is becoming an increasingly popular activity growers come to for workshops in cultivating exotic edibles. OK， 名词。好 ，edible oils. McDonald's and Wendy's said they would offer deals this year aimed at consumers seeking relief. Aimed at consumers seeking relief from rising prices. Gary 这个人 said the company has been working to market cereals such as 这些 to pressured 不对，我感觉这个好像怎么不是那个 pressure 的拼法。哦，是的 pressure the burden pressure 我们都知道 pressured verb to apply pressure to. Okay. Pressured. Pressure such as to pressure consumers. An ad campaign launched in 2022, for example, encouraged consumers to eat cereal for dinner, pitching it as an easy and inexpensive alternative that, combined with milk and fruit, costs less than $1 per serving. Give chicken the night off, the campaign's tagline says. 天哪，他在让人们开始养成用麦片做晚餐的习惯，包括2022年他们推出的一个广告，就是说，鼓励消费者们去在晚上的时候呢吃麦片，然后每一次呢可能只会少于$1，$1，然后说 give chicken the night off， 让不要吃 chicken 了，不要吃鸡肉了，听起来怎么有点惨的样子。Although it is rare for food prices to retreat, it is also unusual for prices to skyrocket as much as they have in recent years. 尽管很难让这个食物的价格呢去 retreat 撤退往后，就是下来，其实上它就是下来了。It is also unusual for prices to skyrocket， 就是同时在这几年我们经历的食品价格这样飞涨也是非常不常见的。He said he expects grocery prices to decline for a period this year as food makers come under pressure from consumers and retailers. 期望，生活用品的价格呢会下降，在今年的什么时候一段时间吧，因为这个，食品制造商在承压，这个压力来自于哪里呢？来自于消费者和 retailers 零售商。这个人 said it is focused on providing affordable options for families and that while its costs rose 3% in 2023, it raised prices by 1%. 这个人说，要专注于提供更加负担得起的选择给到家庭，尽管这些成本 costs 涨了3%，在2023年，但是他们提价提了1%。然后这个呢 said that before raising prices, the company tries to combat high costs through greater productivity， 就是他们通过提升这个产量，也就是效率了，去战胜这个高昂的成本，在真正抬升物价给到传递，给到压力，让消费者来买这个买单之前，他们尝试了去提升这个产量 productivity 和效率吧。这个人 said it is working to keep prices as low as possible. It is working to keep prices as low as possible. Declined to comment on pricing for its company's products this year, but said that the maker of print 这两个东西啊 hasn't raised prices to pad its profit. To pad its pad its profit. 这个应该是一个词组，我们来搜搜看。pad profit. 如果不是的话呢，那么就是 pad that bottom line. Pad the bottom line just means to increase. Okay. Pad its profits. Pad a wallet. Pad a wallet means to make money. But in this particular case, it would come from selling found items rather than finding cash. Pad a wallet. Padding payment. Coffers. Pad. 所以它经常是在这个跟 financial 或者是 money related information pad， 就是 pad 就很好理解吧 ？pad 我们都知道啊，但是它怎么样跟那个词组联系起来去记它呢？ To furnish with a pad or padding. Pad. Traverse on foot. Okay. Pad. 没有词组，看看有没有 phrases. Launching pad. No. 没有 medical definition. Okay, pad is profit. 那我们来看看这个吧。What does pad that bottom line mean? The original text, I think some multinational pharmaceutical company wants me to think they work. Pad their bottom line. Pad the bottom line just means to increase profits. Pad the bottom line. Pad the bottom line, okay. Pad with money. Pre-authorized. Oh, no. Pad the bill. To add false expenses to the bill or invoice. Pad the bill. To run up the bill. To add false expenses to the bill or invoice. Idiom. Really? 它是一个这个好不相关啊，我的妈 To pad the bill, to run up the bill. 没有哎。OK，我们在这里，给我一点时间，我们回去，我会下线之后我再收，把这个 pad 和 money 相关的这些把它 figure out 出来，然后记在我的这里面，然后明天跟大家来讲，好不好？Pad is profit，这样的话可以节约一点时间。Raise prices to bet pad is profit，pad is profit。这个我们留一个 question mark。然后 said that as consumers become accustomed to seeing higher prices on supermarkets' shelves, they would adjust. Just like a gallon of gas, it becomes the new price, and people get begrudgingly used to it. Begrudgingly used to it. Begrudge verb. 这什么意思 ？To give or concede reluctantly, or wish, or with displeasure. To give or concede reluctantly， 就好吧，我妥协了，但是我很不愿意，我给你吧，就是 give or concede reluctantly，不高兴的妥协给你。Begrudge money, begrudged the weeks spent away from home. Begrudged the weeks spent away from home. To look upon with disapproval, or envy. To look upon with disapproval or envy. Begrudged the rival success. 妒忌。所以这是一个不好的词 ，begrudge 就是要么就是不情愿的妥协，给你了 begrudge money， 给你这个钱，然后 to look upon with disapproval or envy， 妒忌的不满 ，begrudge their rival success. She worked hard to get where she is. She worked hard to get where she is. You shouldn't begrudge her success she's earned. You shouldn't begrudge her success. 不应该低看了，或者是对妒忌。After what he's been through, it's hard to begrudge him the money he has. You shouldn't begrudge her success. You shouldn't begrudge her success. Many commuters begrudge every minute spent in traffic. Begrudge 就是好吧，我要花时间通勤，但是我很不愿意。Begrudge every minute spent in traffic. Begrudge good. 这个词稍微有一点点长，但是呢，我们要把它记下来。Begrudge. Verb to give. To give or concede reluctantly with displeasure. To look upon with disapproval, envy. Okay, she's hard. She's worked hard to get where she is. You shouldn't begrudge her success. She's earned. Oh, okay. After what he's been through, it's hard to begrudge him the money he has. You shouldn't begrudge her success. Many commuters begrudge every single minute they spend in traffic. Begrudge. Get begrudgingly used to it, he said. OK， 好啦，这篇文章我们又看完了。这篇文章呢，主要是讲的这个食品上面，其实食品的价格，对于消费者的压力，尽管通胀是已经下来了，已经温和了，但是呢，食品的成本还非常的高昂。那么，食品制造商和零售商以及餐馆行业呢，都非常的挣扎来应对这个高昂的成本。那也并不是所有的食物的价格成本都在上涨。可可粉涨得非常快，包括 sugar 啊，我们看到的 sugar。为什么我要读 sugar 啊？sugar，OK，sugar，对，和西红柿 tomatoes 都在上涨。所以呢，为了 cope with 这些上涨的成本，有些餐馆 和零售商呢，他们就要涨价了。那有些呢，也讲了其他的一些案例，就是在 work on how to increase productivity and efficiency to to defray the rising costs。还有包括还提到了 wages，就是 minimum hourly wages 也在 increase。那对于就是供应商，包括餐馆行业，整个食品产业的这些要雇佣员工的公司来说，都是一个压力。那这个压力有些呢就会传导给消费者，有些不会传导给消费者。那除了这一趴之外呢，也还讲了消费者一些案例，他们是如何现在在这个物价飞涨的时代去节衣缩食，包括分牛排吃啊，包括去算他每天的这个花销啊，但仍然对于2年前呢，还是一个非常有压力的存在。所以这篇文章主要是讲了这个，它的标题就起得非常好了。It's been 30 years since food ate up this much of your income。就是它整篇文章都在讲这个内容。那我们现在呢，再快速的把它读一遍，然后回顾一下今天这篇文章记到的一些单词，好不好？那我在读的时候呢，也邀请朋友们跟我一起来读，然后把嘴巴张大，把每个音呢尽量发清楚。Okay, let's start. The last time Americans spent this much of their money on food, George H.W. Bush was in office. Terminator 2 Judgment Day was in theaters, and C+C Music Factory was rocking the Billboard charts. Eating continues to cost more, even as overall inflation has eased from the blistering pace consumers endured throughout much of 2022 and 2023. Prices at restaurants and other eateries were up 5.1% last month compared with January 2023, while grocery costs increased 1.2% during the same period, Labor Department data show. Relief isn't likely to arrive soon. Restaurant and food company executives said they're still grappling with rising labor costs, and some ingredients, such as cocoa, they're only getting more expensive. Consumers, they said, will find ways to cope. If you look historically after periods of inflation, there is really no period you could point to where food prices go back down, said Steve, chief executive of snack giant in an interview. They tend to be sticky. In 1991, U.S. consumers spent 11.4% of their disposable personal income on food, according to data from the U.S. Agriculture Department. At the time, households were still dealing with steep food price increases following an inflationary period during the 1970s. More than three decades later, food spending has reattained that level. This data shows in 2022, consumers spent 11.3% of their disposable income on food, according to the most recent data available. Many diners have said they are going out less frequently or skipping appetizers, while buying cheaper store brands more frequently at supermarkets and seeking out promotions or deals offered via apps. That is starting to chip away at some sales for food. That is starting to chip away at some sales for food makers and restaurant operators. Food companies said they are feeling pinched themselves, while commodities such as corn, wheat, coffee beans, and chicken have gotten cheaper. Prices for sugar, beef, and French fries are still high or rising. Companies across the U.S. economy have also raised prices beyond covering their own higher expenses, lifting profits for industries including retail, biotech, and manufacturing. Food inflation has raised the ire. Food inflation has raised the ire. Food inflation has raised the ire. Food inflation has raised the ire of President Biden, who took to Instagram during the Super Bowl to blast food makers that he said were providing less bang for consumers' buck, putting fewer chips in each bag or shrinking the size of ice cream containers. The American public is tired of being played for suckers, Biden said, "I've had enough of what they call shrinkflation. It's a ripoff." David, CEO of the Consumer Brands Association, which represents major food manufacturers, said the industry offers many choices at different price points. "We hope to work with the president on real solutions that benefit consumers," he said. In suburban Chicago, Lisa said her food bills are rising faster than her family's income, leading them to make their own granola from scratch and pack their own snacks for the movies. "Everything is negotiation, analysis about a budget," said Winster, an occupational therapist. "Is exhausting." Denny's, Wendy's, and other restaurant chains told investors this month that their guest counts fell last year compared with 2022 levels as consumers. In particular, we can interchange by not list, right? We just learned not list those with lower incomes, who feel the financial pinch. Big food makers, including, have reported their sales volumes declined as prices rose for their products, with several reporting a hit to profits in last fiscal year and others an increase. Oreo maker said in January it would continue rising prices on some of its products this year, largely because of cocoa prices, which earlier in February surged past a 46-year record. Hershey, I don't know how to pronounce her name, but we'll just skip that. That this month it expects more expensive cocoa to cut into company's profit this year. These people said inflation is moderating, but that its cost 这个很多，这里这个文章里面有很多 it 和 that， 我觉得这个呢，这个句子呢，就是不是那么的 very clear out laid， probably 对我来说不是特别 clear out laid 哦。That its costs， 这个 its cost 指的是什么呢 ？Inflation is moderating, but that 为什么要加 but that 呢？这个 that 又是指的什么呢 ？But that its costs are still higher。它可以就是说 but its costs, but the costs are still higher, but the cost is still higher, right? But its costs are still higher, driven in part by pricier tomatoes and sugar. Companies are sent to pay more for staffing after 22 states in January lifted the minimum wage for hourly workers, hiring skilled workers like mechanics to replace employees who retired during the pandemic is particularly expensive. Which owns 17 food and beverage plants that make these cake mixes and other products. Restaurant chains said they are trying to operate more efficiently to help defray wage increases, but they also expect to raise prices. It's a really fast move and a high % increase, said in an interview referring to California's 25% minimum wage increase for fast food workers employed by large chains, set to take effect in April. Pricing is going to be part of the puzzle. Some restaurant and food companies, including, are projecting higher earnings this year. Signs of a consumer spending slowdown has led others to temper their outlooks, with Starbucks lowering its same-store sales projection for 2024 and frozen food maker reducing its per-share earnings forecast. Investors have called on food stocks, and sub-index of restaurant stocks has risen 10% in the past 12 months through Wednesday's close, while the broader index gained about 25%. And another sub-index tracking packaged food and meat companies fell roughly 8% over that period. When Anna and her husband eat out these days, she said, they ask themselves whether a side of macaroni and cheese is worth the extra $2, and often go for refills. And they often go for refills instead of ordering more expensive large-size drinks. These people, professor, said they will sometimes split a $20 steak and side dish and Texas Roadhouse, or a large sandwich from Jim Jones. Nevertheless, she said, our daily and monthly expenditure still seem higher than even 2 years ago. Food manufacturers and restaurants have been offering more deals on some items. These two companies have reduced prices on coffee and margarine, passing through lower costs for coffee beans and edible oils. McDonald's and Wendy's said they would offer deals this year aimed at consumers seeking relief from rising prices. Aimed at consumers seeking relief. Okay. 它这个就是said they would offer deals this year. 什么 deal 呢？这个 deal 是 aimed at， 致力于 aimed at 什么呢 ？consumers。他们应该 consumers 有什么样的 consumer 呢 ？Who 或 that seeking relief from rising prices。它就省略了很多，它就有很多一重重的那个结构。实际上这句话结构是 said they would offer deals， 就这个就好了 ，offer deals， 对吧？然后这个 deal 是什么 ？Which aimed at， 然后谁 consumers， 这 consumers that seeking relief from rising prices. Gary, chief executive of this company, said the company has been working to market cereals such as 这个 to pressured consumers. 它这个 consumer pressured 实际上是形容 consumer 作为一个定语了，它不是为了 to pressure consumers， 不是为了压迫 consumer， 就是让 consumer 去习惯晚饭吃麦片，而是已经承压的 consumers, pressured consumers, working to market cereals such as 这个 to pressured consumers. An ad campaign launched in 2022, for example, encouraged consumers to eat cereal for dinner, pitching it as an easy, inexpensive alternative that, combined with milk and fruit, costs less than $1 per serving, giving chicken the night off, the campaign's tagline says. Although it is rare for food prices to retreat, it is also unusual for prices to skyrocket as much as they have in recent years. He said he expects grocery prices to decline for a period this year as food makers come under pressure from consumers and retailers. These people said it is focused on providing affordable options for families and that while it costs rose 3% in 2023, it raised prices by 1%. 这个 company said that before raising prices, raise 是一个动词 raise 使 price 推动 price 提高嘛，对吧 ？Rising prices are rising price。Raise price, rising price。我们来查一下这个，我觉得我经常读的不混淆，可能对它的还不够 clear。Raise 动词 to cause to help to rise， 对吧？是一个使它让它长的一个动作。Raise, awaken, arouse, to lift up， 它是一个动作 rise 它也是一个动词 to assume an upright position rise to take up arms 我们不如这样搜吧 The main difference between raise versus rise is that raise is a transitive verb 就是动作的 means it requires an object 它有个定语它有一个对象 while rise is an intransitive verb, which means it does not require an object. Raise is used when something is lifted or elevated by someone or something else. Raise something, raise the price, rise. OK, 所以它后面一定要有一个对象的，你比如说升高抬起来 raise something 一定要有个 object 有一个对象 那 rise 的话就没有。看一下这张图。Oops，向下看图就够了。To lift something or someone, to move upward, raise, raised, rose, have raised, risen, have risen, risen. He raised the question. He raised the question. The sun rises. In the east. The sun 升起来了，太阳升起来了，对吧？它没有一个对象，升起来什么呢？没有。The sun rises. His voice rose in excitement. 他的声音抬高了，声调抬高了。His temperature has risen. 他的体温上升了 to an alarming level. The organizers will raise the ticket price. Raise the ticket price. 它有个对象 raise 什么呢？提高什么价格呢？提高票价。OK， 我们明白了。OK，raise，有很多都很熟，然后记得，但是很久不用、很久不说的时候，就慢慢会模糊它的记忆，模糊它的意思、它的用法和它的不同的关联词。所以这些呢，我都要再强化一下，然后让我能够比较清晰。这样子的时候，有时候我讲英语呢，有些词我感觉应该是这样，但其实我并不十分确定。对，因为不熟悉了，慢慢比较生疏了。如果朋友们对这些都很熟的话，其实可以就快进这一部分就好了，然后就不用跟着我一起，就可能会节约一点时间。我们这一段 It is working to keep prices as low as possible. Declined to comment in pricing for its company's product this year, but said that the maker of these two hasn't raised prices to pad its profit. OK， 这个我们留下来了，我要做一下功课的，然后明天再跟大家报告。pad its profit。这个 said that as consumers become accustomed to seeing higher prices on supermarket shelves, they will adjust. 因为消费者就是看到了更多的价格在这个超市货架上面，他们会自己调整的。Just like a gallon of gas， 就像汽油一样，每当一个新的这个价格出现了，人们就会尽管非常不情愿的，但是会习惯它，习惯这个新的价格。好啦，这就是我们今天的内容啦，一下子到1个小时08分钟了。因为我们现在才刚刚开始，所以呢，读的时间会比较长，而且这些文章也比较长，所以我们花的时间多一点。那我们今天就到这里啦，朋友们记得订阅我哦。我才坚持了3、4天吧，感觉这个效果其实已经有一点点出来了。如果每天能够这样坚持来做这件事情，其实并不花很多时间，对于我来说呢，很轻松，对，不花很多时间。所以非常建议朋友们，如果你也有这样的想法，有这样的诉求的话呢，不妨今天就尝试起来，跟我一起来学英语，每天1个小时，我和你一起。好啦，那我们今天呢就到这里啦，谢谢朋友们，那我们明天又不见不散喽，拜拜。